All right, everybody. Obviously, I am not here today, but you still have to work and learn. So we're going to do this again like we did once before. I need you to start by opening your booklet to page 26. While you are opening your booklets to page 26, you need to make sure that you have a calculator and make sure that you have something to write with, obviously. And based on the quizzes that you took last class, some of you I am going to require to use colors, either because you did poorly on the quiz or because you were doing okay on the quiz and you made a bunch of really silly mistakes. So one or the other. This is not necessarily indicative of people's grades on the quizzes, but if you were making a bunch of silly mistakes, I'm going to make you go back to using the colors. So if you want to use the colors anyway, feel free. Please be my guest. These people additionally need a blue, a yellow, and a green, and you have to use them. When I get back, I am going to check that you colored everything on these pages. So Peyton, Zach, Diana, Darius, Valeska, and Gio, you have to use colors today. Make sure you have a blue, a yellow, and a green. Everybody else, if you want to use colors, please do. But again, Peyton, Zach, Diana, Darius, Valeska, and Gio, you have to use colors. You either did poorly on your quiz or in several of your cases, you made a bunch of silly mistakes that you shouldn't have been making, and you probably wouldn't have made if you'd been coloring. All right, by now, hopefully everyone is on page 26. We got not very far last class. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's see. Last class, we talked about calcium carbonate. You should have solved the molar mass of chalk last class. You should personally already have an answer here. If you do not, I'll give you a hint that you need to take how many calciums there are, how many carbons there are, and how many oxygens there are. So 1 calcium, 1 carbon, and 3 oxygens. And you need to multiply those times their mass on the periodic table. So calcium on the periodic table is 40.08. Excuse me. 40.08. Carbon on the periodic table is 12.01. Oxygen on the periodic table is 16.00. You need to multiply all of these out, and then whatever you get, you're going to get a number, and a second number, and a third number, and you need to add all of those together to get your final answer. Okay. Anyway. That is a thing you should have done last class. If you didn't, you should make sure and do it now. Number 3, this should be some number that you weighed last class, the mass of your chalk. Number 4, you should have taken the mass of what the chalk was after you were done drawing, so that's some other number. How many grams of chalk were used to make your drawing? Well, if you know how much your chalk weighed before you started drawing, and you know how much your chalk weighed after you started drawing, then the number of grams of chalk that were on your paper at the end should be equal to however much the mass was at the end. So your answer to number 4 minus your mass at the beginning. So your answer to number 3. And if that is true, then awesome, you did it right. So there you go. I'm going to give you a couple hints here. Number 6 asks you how many molecules of chalk were used to make your drawing. Well, you're going to have some number of grams as your answer to number 5. So you're going to start with that number of grams. Whatever your answer to number 5 was, that's going to be your number of grams that go in there. And if you're going from grams to molecules, how many fractions do you need? You need 3. That's correct. From there, you should personally be able to finish this at this point. Remember that whatever units you have on top, your color, your golden grams on top, also need to be on the bottom. And this should be your molar mass of chalk, because both of these are for CaCO3. And that means that the molar mass you're going to use here should be your answer to number 2. Should go there. After yellow, after grams, we cannot go straight to molecules. We cannot go straight to blue. So our next color has to be green. Before we can go from yellow to blue, we have to pass through green. Green is moles. That means moles should go on top. And if I have moles on the top, I'm also going to need moles to go where? I need to use every color twice. Moles have been used once. Where do they go the second time? That's right, they go on the bottom. Okay. What's my number that I use for moles? I always use 1 mole. And after I put 1 mole, oh look, I'm done with moles, I'm done with green, I've used them twice. So now I'm ready to move on to my next color. I'm done with yellow, I'm done with green, my last color left is blue, molecules, which we do not abbreviate MOL, we abbreviate MLC. That is a mistake some of you made on your quizzes, and I took off points for that, so be careful. Molecules is MLC. Molecules are blue. And what number goes with molecules? When it's blue, use 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay, you'll have to solve yourself because obviously I don't know what your answer to number 5 was or what your answer to number 2 was, but that's going to get you some number of molecules of calcium carbonate as your answer. For number 7, how many atoms of oxygen were used in your drawing? Well, if you know from number 6 how many molecules of calcium carbonate there were, each calcium carbonate each calcium carbonate has 3 oxygens. Each calcium carbonate has 3 oxygens. So those 3 oxygens times the total number of calcium carbonates I have, that's going to be how I find how many atoms of oxygen were overall in my drawing. So your drawing that's on the wall in the hallway right now will have whatever you get for number 7 here. That's how many atoms of oxygen are on your paper from the chalk that you drew. This is how many atoms of oxygen you put onto that paper, which I think is a pretty interesting, cool thing. Okay, I want to remind you, you have a quiz at the end of class today. The quiz is going to be over the same sort of stuff that was on the last quiz. And because I am so generous, here's what I'm going to do. If you failed the last quiz, and you passed today's quiz, I will use today's quiz as a retest for the first one. So if you pass today, you'll pass the quiz from last time. You're welcome. You can thank me later. I am so generous. Okay. Now that you know that, you have 5 minutes. I know that's not super long, but it's a little bit of time. You have 5 minutes to work on pages 26 and 27, these problems, 26 and 27. You know what? We'll call it 8 minutes because, again, I am so generous. You can have 8 minutes to do that. At the end of the 8 minutes, we're going to do something else. So hopefully your lovely substitute will keep track of the time. And 8 minutes from right now, you're going to do something else. So get as much of pages 26 and 27 as you can done. There will be some stamps based on it next class when I come back. And your substitute has an answer key. They don't have all of the work, but they have the answers. So if you finish one and you want to know if you did it right, go ask the substitute and they'll tell you if what you got is what the answer key says. So, yeah, I'll talk to you again in 8 minutes.